baby, it's here, it's patch day, and a significant patch has finally hit. With Masters in the books, Riot are up and back at it again, changing the game. Patch 2.06 has just dropped, and with that we got some huge game-changing buffs for some of Valorant's most downtrodden agents, and we'll be covering them in depth when we get there on the tier list, so you definitely won't want to miss out on this video. As usual, our tier lists consult the metagame at the highest levels of ranked and pro play, as well as what we see at all levels of ranked play, to get you the most comprehensive snapshot of the agent meta as we move into the next patch cycle. So without further ado, let's jump into our question of the day and get it poppin'. Our question of the day actually comes from the YouTube comment section. Denzel Hidayat, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, asks, what is your guys' favorite voice line in Valorant? And they hope it makes their day, so shout out Denzel, I hope this makes you smile. I'm happy to include you as our question of the day this time around. As for me, this one is easy. I've been a big Brimstone fan since the beta, and for some reason, just the way he says Molly just really does it for me, with a close second being his enemy ultimate voice line, prepare for hellfire. It really hits, it's just good, just the good stuff. Anyways, leave your favorite voice lines in the comment section, and also, hey, if you guys like us doing some community questions of the day, we can definitely make that a more regular thing as well. We're willing to experiment, just let us know. Alright, here we are. Boom, blank tier list. As always, we start at the D tier and work our way up the list. D tier is the lowest rung of the agent hierarchies in Valorant, and D tier agents shouldn't be played if winning is your foremost goal. And, as I'm sure will surprise absolutely no one, we have our resident and only D tier agent. Say it with me, folks. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. It's YORU. Oh, wait. I'm sorry, guys. I think I misread my notes here. YORU actually is in D tier this time. I don't know where he goes, but he's not in this tier right now. I guess we gotta keep going to see where he lands. It's a little bit weird, but I guess we're just gonna have to roll with it. And yeah, that means there are no D tier agents in Valorant right now, which is a good thing. I think it's always the goal to make sure that all agents are at least viable in the game, and it seems that Riot are finally taking some steps to help make that a reality for YORU, which is fantastic. Moving on to our C tier, we see further changes, but first, our C tier is the home of the nichest agents in Valorant. They are by no means bad, but their roles can and often are done easier and better by agents higher up on the list. Our singular resident of C tier this time around is Skye, and there's not much to say here. Skye is a good agent, but as far as flash agents go, Breach is all around superior, and as far as scouting goes, Sova is unmatched. Skye is just kind of vibing. Occasionally you run into someone who's studied the Church of Oz, mastered the art of saying Brisbane and Melbourne correctly, and yes, I did do that to deliberately piss off the Australians in the audience, fight me. But those dedicated Skye mains just tend to run you over. Skye is just one of those agents. She really takes a specialist to understand her completely. And that's our only C tier agent, as VIPER has also been buffed this patch, and we'll find out how this changes her position when we find her higher up on the list. But before we get into the real big meat of this video, if you want to improve your game, elevate yourself to the higher plane of existence that is ranking up in Valorant, then you need to go to SkillCapped.com. From agent guides, map guides, aiming guides, we got it all ready to beam directly into your frontal cortex as soon as you sign up at the link down below right now. Do it. Moseying on over to the B tier, we have some huge changes here. But of course, the B tier is a lot like C in terms of there often being straight better or easier to use agents above them on the list, and that tends to hold our B tier agents back from being picked more often. Let's start with our newest additions to the tier. This patch brought huge changes to two agents historically underpowered in the game, VIPER and YORU. And while we can't be certain as to where this will put them in the long run, we here at SkillCapped are going to take a comfortable guess here and say that these changes make them both viable B tier agents right away. Let's start with VIPER and see what exactly has changed. So VIPER got some huge stuff in this update. Let's first read what Riot added as a preface to these changes in the 2.06 patch notes so that we can better understand their vision for this oddball controller. Read quote. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm supposed to read the quote right now. My bad. In the wake of the Masters, we're introducing some bigger updates to our agents, and with VIPER first in line, we looked at a lot of possible changes for her, but ultimately landed on changes that push what makes VIPER play pattern unique and still resonate with her themes. When compared to other controllers, we want VIPER to make big, committed decisions that truly alter the map and how both sides plan around her influence. She should claim ground with force and dare opponents to challenge her. The updates to Toxin should also project more threat on enemies who consider pushing her smoke and will hopefully add a significant bite to her marquee Toxin screen. Paired with a couple other buffs and some new tools for learning and practicing lineups, we're excited to see if VIPER can deliver on the deadly impact she promises while solidifying her spot on our roster. So the changes that enable that are, her passive Toxic debuff has been changed. Enemies that cross through VIPER's Poison Cloud, Toxic Screen, or VIPER's Pit Ultimate are instantly inflicted with at least 50 decay, instead of building from 0 decay previously. The decay level increases the longer they remain in contact with these abilities. So now, if you choose to cross a smoke or a wall or push into the ultimate, your shield and health will start reducing much faster and continue to get worse, and when you exit these pools, you will have that decay linger to a much bigger detriment than previous. This is huge, and it makes pushing VIPER utility now an extremely costly effort. But wait, there's more. VIPER's Smoke, the Poison Cloud, has been changed. It can now be redeployed immediately when picked up, but instead of lasting the full duration, it will be a temporary charge. The wording on this isn't clear, but I believe it will let you instantly put the smoke back up for a shorter duration regardless of your fuel level, where it will then deactivate and have to recharge to be used like normally. We have to play with this change to better understand it, but it does sound like it'll help VIPER be more reactive instead of so static as in previous patches. To go with this, when VIPER dies, her smokes and wall will linger for 2 seconds instead of instantly going down, which will help her have parity with other controllers on death, which is very nice. And lastly, the pickup radius of her smoke has been doubled to 400 units, so you don't have to be incited to grab it back anymore. Really nice change there, Riot. Her Toxic Screen also had the distance to the wall, where it applies a full blind effect, changed to better match what happens on the edge of other smokes. I believe previously it was the shortest blind applied by a smoke or wall, but I could be wrong on that, but regardless, it now has parity with other things in the game. Lastly, for ability changes, her Snake Bite's now equipped faster, going from 1.1 to 0.8 seconds, which will be very nice. And topping it all off with a nice big cherry. Practicing VIPER is now so much easier. In private games with cheats and infinite abilities enabled, VIPER can now hold down the activate key on the smoke or wall to instantly recall them. Thank God. And in custom games with cheats and infinite ammo, the landing location of the Poison Cloud will be shown on the minimap when equipped in your hand. Oh my God, this is so good. Small tangent here, but it needs to be said. Riot need to go further with this change. All castable abilities in the game need a minimap landing location as well as a visible tracer, like what you see when you equip Cypher's camera. This is already a thing in CSGO, and it enables you to experiment and innovate lineups at will in custom games, and find the best, most replicable setups. Just think about how this would change the game for every character with a throwable. While I learned that tape measure Molly, boom. Want to become the next Sova Master and see where that ricochet is going? Boom. This is a must-have change, and I hope that this step with VIPER is that experimentation in that regard. Anyways, that was very long-winded, so what does this mean for VIPER's spot on the tier list? I think this makes VIPER easier to play, easier to learn, and more adaptable in the mid-round. Being able to at least rotate a smoke on defense, and use her wall for map control, and being able to, on attack, use the smoke for early map control, pick it up, and move it around more efficiently. I think the decay changes are wild, and might make VIPER an unreal nightmare to push on attack. Yeah, I think VIPER has room to even climb this list come next patch and might even move to A tier, but for right now, I think B tier makes a lot of sense, and VIPER is going to be scary going forward, mark my words. And that's not all for Bombshell changes, we also got huge changes for YORU, so let's just get right into those. Now for the sake of pacing, I'll speed through the Riot preamble and say that Riot want to maintain YORU's unique niche as a duelist, while making him a more appealing option in team compositions, and although he is getting some huge changes in this patch, Riot are also looking at his Footsteps ability in a future patch, so YORU could be getting even more buffs very soon. Getting right into the changes, YORU's flashbang now activates in 0.6 seconds instead of 0.8, and the flash duration now lasts 1.5 seconds instead of 1.1. And I believe, though it could be mistaken, this now means that YORU's flash is deployed the fastest in the game and have a middle of the road duration. So YORU is now frightening on the entry. To go along with this, his Gate Crash teleport is no longer refreshed on kills and is instead on a flat 35-second cooldown. To compensate, the Gate Crash now lasts for a total of 30 seconds instead of 20. The range at which the Gate Crash is revealed is also down from 7 meters to 4 meters, and the visibility ring on the minimap is changed to reflect that. Now, what makes these changes nuts is Yoru's ultimate Dimensional Drift is now a 6-cost ult, and Yoru can reactivate or teleport to his Gate Crash while in his ultimate. And oh my god, this is huge, dude. This makes Yoru, a previously mismatched agent with subpar scouting, an okay flash, and a highly abusable teleport, to possibly one of the most scary agents in Valorant. His ultimate and teleport combo means that Yoru can go completely invisible and teleport across the map instantly. The usefulness of this change cannot be understated. For being able to escape his ult to going on crazy ass flanks, this makes Yoru so much more potentially flexible. I mean, just wow. Wow, dude. I can't project if this means that Yoru can be an A or even S tier agent going forward, but as a first step, this makes Yoru scarily random and hard to track in his ultimate. And the flashes as well just give him a good bit of quality of life. It helps him be a better entry. He's B tier for now because we need to play with these changes, but make no mistake, this is absolutely huge for his potential viability going forward, and I think we will be seeing a lot of Yoru in the future. Alright, those are the major balancing changes that have thrown this tier list for a complete loop. From here on, we can be a bit more brief and straightforward, like our next B tier agent, Brimstone. In hindsight, my statements about Brim as sort of an entry-level controller might have been the smartest thing I've ever said in regards to agent balance, and based on your guys' response, I think I'm pretty right on that. Brimstone is a good controller, but lacks the complexities or flexibilities that the other harder-to-use controllers offer up, thus leaving him as like an eternal B-tier agent, unless he is significantly changed otherwise. Our final B-tier agent is Cypher. Cypher is once again stuck in this weird spot. He's invaluable at the highest levels of play, where the coordination and info he provides is backbreaking in the right scenarios, but he drops off when you're in the relatively uncommunicative, less structured environment at the lower levels, especially in solo queue. By no means bad, and definitely never hated when he's picked, Cypher's ceiling is super high, but his floor, and I would even say average level impact, is definitely lower than the agents above him. Heading on to our A tier, we got our A, that's a pretty good tier. A tier agents tend to fall just short of insta-long status. They also can tend to be more of map specialists instead of useful anywhere, anytime picks, but that's not always the case. Our first A tier is the resident bruv of Valorant, Phoenix. Phoenix is certainly trending down because players are kind of waking up to the Jet Raze being the new absolutely gasoline double duelist duo, and that means we see less Phoenix overall. His pick rate was way down in Masters, which was shocking to me because he hasn't changed at all, the meta has just shifted away from him. In Ranked, he's still fantastic and has one of the best ultimates in the game. Phoenix remains the best pure entry fragger in the game, and that is a role that won't go away unless someone comes for that crown directly. Following the king of the entry, we have the total polar opposite playstyle and new controller on the block, Astra. My personal opinion of Astra hasn't changed at all. There's a huge skill gap to playing Astra, but when you learn how to do it, her mix of Sentinel and controller can be backbreaking to handle, her ultimate creates huge immediate impact, and she's godly in the post fight on attack, and great at solo side holds on defense. Now that Masters has passed, I think we'll get a much better idea of her place in the high skill level meta, because teams are going to start experimenting with her more. So now is kind of like Astra's moment to prove herself as a viable choice, and she could be up or down in the next few tier lists because of it. Heading on to our next A tier agent, we have Killjoy. In the arms race of Killjoy versus Cypher, Killjoy is by far the easier Sentinel to get impact out of at all levels of play, and has by far the better ultimate. And starting in patch 2.06, you can finally pick up her fucking nanoswarms during the prep phase before a round starts. I mean, fuck me, fucking finally, god right, you finally fucking did it. You guys don't understand. I mained so much Killjoy for a long time after her release, and it, to no end, pissed me off, and every other person who has ever played her off, that you would misthrow these swarms, then just have to eat the loss. Thank you, right. This literally brought a tear to my eye. Whew! Let's go, dude. Anyways, we cap off the A tier with Breach, my most hated agent in the game, and paradoxically, the man who confuses me most because he's so annoying, so good in the right scenarios, and just doesn't get played. I genuinely, and I do mean genuinely, fear him getting a buff further. So hopefully he naturally gets played more, so that hell is not set loose upon us all. Alright. S tier, the cream of the crop of agents in Valorant. Like always, I think if you don't have a main, starting here and picking anyone on this section is a great start, because their value is near irreplaceable in the current meta. Reyna maintains her spot in the S tier only because she literally dominates more than 65% of the player base below the high plat levels. Good old Silver's Bane, piloted by the most elite smurfs in the world, Reyna is here to rip you a new structurally superfluous new behind if your headshot accuracy is as high as my IQ. Reyna drops off harder than a 100-pound sack of flour lifted up by the top of the package the moment you cross into higher levels of play, but she's so good at what she offers in terms of stomping out ill-prepared teams that she has to maintain her S tier ranking. Our next S tier is the continuing on the up and up Raze. Raze could even creep into the OP territory real soon because, as we saw in great detail during the Masters, Raze is no longer a 2-map specialist. She is so good everywhere. She abuses stuff like subs and shotguns. Rest in peace, Bucky, by the way. May you never dominate the game again. We all hated you. Like no else, and her damage output and movement potential, along with her ultimate being a guaranteed free kill every time it's up unless you go out of your way to fail it, means that Raze is quickly showing potential as a parity pick alongside Jett. Raze stocks are up, my friends, and now is the time to buy. Listen, I already made this joke about them in the last tier list, but literally nothing needs to be said about Sova and Omen. They are eternal S tier agents and the 2 best supports in the game, bar none, and there's nothing else to say. Sova is the best intel agent in the game, and Omen is the best controller by a country mile. If you want to play a controller or a support, you are playing Sova or you are playing Omen. There's nothing else to say, move on. Unless you want to play Sage, who rounds out our S tier and is proving herself more than just a shotgun one trick. Sage is back, and she's here to remind us all why she was so good in the yield days. Her kit is eternally valuable. All of it, top to bottom, is just useful. Slow orbs, absolutely nuke rushes, and ruin side anchors. Her wall is the best pure stalling utility in the game, her heal is helpful, and her res is always helpful. Sage is back in the meta, my friends, and that's not going away anytime soon. Our OP tier is once again the throne that Jett sits upon alone. Her pick rate may have dropped off slightly in the Masters tournament as Raze rose up in popularity, but Jett is still the best pure duelist in the game. Jett pilots the operator like nothing else, and a good operator can dominate the game like nothing else. Jett's ultimate is dumb good and makes her economy unbreakable as long as she gets frags. Jett is a turtle. Unless she is directly nerfed or something even better comes up, she will sit on the OP throne forever. And tier list done. Here is our final list. Let me know your personal tier list in those comments down below, as well as your reactions to these VIPER and YORU changes. While you are down there, like and subscribe as well for more premium content just like this with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped would like to thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.